This is a portrait I drew, brothers and sisters, of Shane Walsh, played by John Bernthal. I had the pleasure of giving him a signed print of this at the Chicago Comic-Con and meeting him a few weeks back. Season 1, Episode 2, Guts.
Well, hello, my brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the grisly and action-packed tale of The Walking Dead. This is a review, obviously, for Season 1, Episode 2. It is entitled Guts, and we'll get to it as the review goes on, but I just want to warn everyone, the review does contain spoilers for those small amount of you that have still not seen The Walking Dead. Go ahead and pause this, go and watch episode 2 of season 1, and then feel free to come back because we're going to spoil the shit out of it. So, our last, the last episode left you hanging. It was the pilot episode, and it left you hanging on a cliffhanger. Our main character, and really one of the few characters we've been introduced to at this point, Rick Grimes, while trying to escape a zombie horde in Atlanta, has crawled inside in the underside of a tank, and is pretty much trapped in there. The episode ended with someone coming across the radio in the tank, saying, "Hey, you, dumbass, you comfy in there?" And we wind up being introduced to this character very early on in the episode, but that's where everything picks up. Obviously that's where it left off. That's where it picks up for this episode, and Rick goes, and he's kind of still in shock from having to shoot the soldier that came back to life as a zombie in the tank, and of course his hearing is all, like he got hit with a flashbang. He gets on the radio and starts talking to him, to this mysterious person, asking him who he is, and he's like, "Listen, there's no time for that. You need to get out of there. You're surrounded. And he's like, so he asks him. He says, "Well, how do I get out?" And he says, "I don't know." He goes, "Your best chance is probably to run." And he goes, "What do you mean to run?" And he goes, "Well, here's the thing. There's only one of them actually on the tank right now. The rest of them have kind of lost interest, and they've gone back over to sort of like pick the remains of your horse that they took care of. So if you get off the tank, you've only got the one to deal with on the tank, and there's an alley about 50 yards away." He lays out this whole plan for him. Run towards that, blah blah blah. "How many bullets do you have?" And Rick says, I think Rick says he has 7 or 8, and it's not enough, but he says make good use of them, and I'll meet you there, And Rick's like, "Well, who are you?" And he's like, "Listen, dumbass, you just got to get going, okay? This is not time to talk and get meeting with each other." So this episode is very much action-packed. The first one was really more of a kind of building a story and building this sort of world and this eerie presence of like everything being dead, And but this episode is very, very action-packed, and we wind up seeing Rick go and, he jumps out of the tank and goes and nails the one zombie that he sees. And as he gets off the tank, they have thinned out, but they're still zombies, and he, pretty much is very accurate. Every bullet that he fires hits a zombie and counts, and kills them, shooting them in the head. And only hits the ones that he needs to, in his path to run to make it to this alley. As he gets to this alley, we see this. We're introduced first to this character. He introduces himself a little bit later on, but his name is Glenn, and he's a shorter Asian character, and wears a baseball cap. And at any rate, he winds up grabbing Rick, and he's like, "Come on, we got to get going." So as they're running down this alley, just these zombies now have taken notice of him, and especially because they're attracted to sound, and he's fired and discharged his gun several times, they're all just flooding down this alley. So they go running to get to, like a fire escape, and it's not the traditional fire escape that you see where it's like one to the next to the next. It's just one of those like straight up ladders that goes to the top of the roof, that has the encasing of metal around it. So they're climbing up there, and I mean just narrowly escaping. I mean, it's a real nail-biting type scenario, and they wind up getting up on top of the building. Glenn explains to him that basically he's a dumbass for getting caught in there to begin with, and he introduces himself. All the while, they wind up going into the building they climbed up onto, in through the roof. And Rick's asking him questions and trying to talk to him, and Glenn's not giving him a whole lot of answers yet. He just basically says that he's with some other people, and that that they need to get back to them now. So they get back inside. Now they're inside the building. They've gone in through the roof, and the zombies, we presume, cannot climb ladders, so they weren't able to make it up to the roof. Either way, though, they're inside the building. And they have to go and make their way around to this other group. So they wind up getting back down into, back down kind of into the streets, so to speak, into the alley, into a different alley now, and they're wind up running. They're trying to duck and dodge, and they wind up seeing a few zombies, but don't really have anything now. Rick's out of bullets. They don't really have anything to arm themselves with. And all of a sudden, out of this door into this building that they were trying to get to or whatever, a couple of figures come out, and they have like masks on, like helmets, and like bulletproof vests or armor, it looks like, and they come out with baseball bats and beat the shit out of the few zombies that are there and pull Rick and Glenn inside. It turns out these are the other survivors that were actually with Glenn, and in this episode we're introduced to a number of different survivors. Jackie, T-Dog, Andrea, and Andrea is one of the first people that we're introduced to because she goes and pulls a gun on Rick. They're in this department store, and his discharging his gun in the middle of Atlanta, because there's all these hundreds and thousands of zombies, has attracted all of them towards this building. And now they were supposed to sneak into the city, get some supplies, and sneak out. And now they cannot do that. They're literally trapped within the building because zombies have surrounded it, because this is where the sound was coming from, right? And they were able to see the movement inside, or whatever the deal is. They're attracted to, and they're trying to break through the plate glass windows of this department store. There's 2 levels of windows and doors as far as that goes, but they're already starting to crack through the first one. Andrea goes, and she's played by Laurie Holden, a very attractive blonde woman, and she goes and pulls her gun and puts it to Rick's head, and she's like, I'm going to shoot this asshole, and they're like, what the hell, calm down, and basically she's upset, she's really upset because we find out that she has a younger sister that she takes care of that's back at this camp, and she volunteered, of course, to go on this supply run. But now, in her mind, she's thinking, hey, you know what? This asshole has screwed everything up for us. We're probably going to die here. And she really wants to kill him, So there's a little bit of interaction between them. And there's not a whole lot other than that until the shit hits the fan. They hear a rifle going off, a rifle being discharged. And somebody's like, oh, shit, Merle. So this is kind of cool because we're introduced to a character. Everybody goes running upstairs onto the roof, and we're introduced to Merle Dixon, who is the ultimate backwater redneck hillbilly. He's racist. We find out very quickly. He goes in T-Dog, who is a black guy. He winds up dropping an N-bomb on him, And it was really, like I said, for me to see this for the first time on like AMC of all things, I was just like, wow, this is a really edgy show. Nobody wants to tackle things like racism or or gay marriage or any of those type of things, for the most part, because you're gonna offend somebody one way or the other. But Merle has basically, he's a loose cannon. He's up on the roof, and he's seen that all these zombies are starting to come around. And this is a larger building in Atlanta. But he's shooting them, and he's just popping them off left and right. Now, there's thousands of them, so he's going to run out of ammo before anything happens. But all he's doing is drawing more attention to them. So they're trying to tell him that, and T-Dog winds up getting into a confrontation with him, and that's when he goes and he starts dropping the N-bomb on him and says, I ain't going to let you tell me what to do. And he's just typical, mushmouth, redneck, type of deal. Probably grew up being racist and hating everybody but himself, and probably doesn't like himself. But he winds up going and nailing T-Dog, and beats him to pretty much within an inch of his life. Rick gets knocked away in the whole encounter. He gets knocked back and everything else. And Merle looks like he's just crazed. Maybe he's on some kind of drugs, whatever the case may be. But he's played by Michael Rooker, who's a great actor. Another guy that I had that I've had the pleasant interaction with meeting, and is just a real great guy. But he plays his part well. And then he goes and he starts going, okay, now who's in charge here? Who's in charge? Who's got the gun? Show of hands, y'all. Well, Rick winds up getting up and blindsiding him. Now, remember, number one, he's a cop, and number two, he's not going to let some schmuck like this push him around. So he goes and blindsides him, nails him, and then goes in one swift move, just goes and handcuffs Merle to a pipe that's on this roof, And Merle's like, what the hell? And there's an interaction between them, of course, bitching back and forth. But now the bottom line is they need to figure out how to get out of this place. So that's what the rest of the episode takes place on, is how to get out, you know. And the reason that it's called Guts is because they leave Merle on the roof, and they leave him up there with T-Dog. T-Dog's been badly beaten, but he's supposed to basically try to get a communication out to their camp on the roof. And he does. He's able to get a communication out, and basically we see a quick interaction at the camp. You know, he tells them, hey, we're surrounded, we're this, we're that. And we wind up seeing Lori's younger sister, Amy, and everybody's kind of freaking out. And Shane is like, hey, listen, they knew the risk going out, and yes, they volunteered, because somebody points that out. I think Lori does, Rick's wife. He says, they volunteered. They knew the risk. You know, we're not going to go and risk getting everybody killed trying to go in. They said they were surrounded. You know, they're shit out of luck, right? So there's no help coming for them. And as I said, there's these zombies breaking through the department store windows. Glenn talks about how he knows all these tunnels in and out of the city, and Jackie says that she was the building zone management planner, and she knows about all these different tunnels that go underneath these like sewer tunnels that basically come up into Atlanta. So they go to look for one of those. There's a brief time where Glenn tries to go down there, and they wind up finding a zombie down there behind some bars. Doesn't matter, even if the zombie wasn't down there, they can't get through these bars. They have nothing to cut them. So they have to figure out another way to get out of here, you know. And what they wind up doing is they go and they open up the door that originally Glenn and Rick came into, where the two zombies had been beaten to death, you know, and they grab the bodies and bring them in, you know. And Rick basically goes and grabs a hatchet and, you know, puts on himself, you know, a helmet and gloves, and everybody's wearing gloves and everything like that. And he goes and just starts hacking up the body. He has the idea that if you go and you rub some of these guts, the zombie guts, on you, right, and, you know, maybe put like a hand in your pocket and some of these other things, and this was portrayed real well in the comic too, that basically they operate by smell a lot too. And the reason that they don't attack each other and fall all over each other and stuff and bite each other is because they can smell. It's like a dog. They have a sense, you know. So him and Glenn go and wind up rubbing. It's really a grisly scene because you just kind of see everything's done very well in this as far as the gore and the horror, you know. I mean, he's just hacking this body apart. And, you know, he winds up going and getting this stuff all over himself, you know, rubbing it all over himself. And they're wearing like these coats and aprons, you know, type things. So they're not getting it on their skin. But him and Glenn put the stuff on them. And then they're going to go, and they have found that basically there's like a yard, like a truck yard, you know, for like a moving truck company. And they always keep the keys on them or very close to the trucks or whatever, you know, so they're drivers, because they're always interchangeable. Drivers can drive. So they're basically going to go walk through the horde of zombies, a couple blocks to get over there, get a vehicle, and then come back and get everybody, you know. And they wind up, you know, going out there, and it's really kind of one of the coolest scenes and one of my favorite to date in The Walking Dead. As they go out there, some storm clouds start to appear overhead, and it's just really kind of nerve-wracking as they're walking by, because some of the zombies kind of slow down and look at them a little bit, and they're just trying to blend in and kind of shamble and walk slowly, and they've got all this zombie guts and stuff smeared all over them, and pieces of entrails and body parts shoved in the pockets so they can just stink like death, and these zombies, you know. And it's really kind of a gripping scene because it goes back and forth between the survivors that are in the building, and they've gone back up on the roof. They're looking through the binoculars, one of them is, to see, you know, where they're at, how things are going. Well, this storm winds up moving in overhead, and as they're walking along, it starts raining. You know, it's Atlanta, it's the southeast. You're going to get these flash, you know, rains and floods and things like that. And all of a sudden it starts going, and, you know, Glenn's like, what the hell, I think they can, you know, I think they're noticing us now. I think they can smell us. So the smell is washing off, right? And Rick's like, no, everything's fine. Don't worry about it, you know? And it's really kind of cool because then all of a sudden one of the zombies goes and kind of walks by him and like turns and looks at him like he's aware, like, what the fuck, you know, what's going on with you? And Rick just hauls off and just nails him with this fire axe. They both start bolting, you know. They go and they pull off their stuff. They both start bolting, and now all the zombies like see, oh shit, you know, there's food, right? So dozens of them start chasing them down the street. Rick and Glenn are able to run. They're able to climb over this like 8 or 10 foot fence. You know, the zombies start trying to climb a fence. So apparently they can't climb ladders, but they can climb fences. Rick is trying to frantically find keys to this truck, this moving van type truck that they have. It's a box truck. They're able to get into this thing just barely as the weight of the zombies wind up actually pushing and knocking over this chain link fence. So there's like dozens of them coming in. They wind up getting in the truck and going and driving around and trying to deter and get them away from this building, this dock that they're at. And what Rick winds up doing is talking to Glenn, and he's like, listen, we need a distraction, right? So they wind up going several blocks out where there is no zombies. They wind up busting a window of a car, a sports car that goes, and the alarm goes off on it. And instead of disabling the alarm or whatever, that's going to attract the zombies. Glenn is going to be the bait. While Rick goes and saves everybody, Glenn gets in the car and starts driving around and attracting all the zombies, that are by this dock door. That the survivors are still in there. Now, while this is happening, the zombies are still starting to come through that second level of doors over there. Everybody's getting packed up inside to leave because they've been radioed that they got to go meet them down by the dock door. Merle winds up being left on the roof by accident. T-Dog goes to get to him with the handcuff keys that Rick left with him, and he slips and falls forward, and they fall into a drain. And so he cannot help him, So he's like, I'm sorry, man, I'm sorry. And he goes and takes off. Now, Merle is chained to the roof, right, of the zombies that are coming into this building. Well, T-Dog, in one last effort to try to help Merle, goes and actually takes this chain that he has with a heavy-duty lock, and he actually locks from the backside. He locks the door behind him to get up the stairwell to get onto the roof, the only access to the roof. So I guess some measure of respite for Merle. And T-Dog is able to get together with everybody. The zombies start breaking in through that second level of glass windows over there, and just in time, they are narrowly able to work on escaping. Rick is able to back up this box truck to the dock doors because Glenn has drawn most of the horde away from them. They're able to open up the doors and in one fell swoop get everybody into there. We've got Andrea, we've got Jackie, we've got everybody is able to get in there except for Merle, of course, who's left on the roof. And they're able to just narrowly escape and get away. The episode ends shortly after that. There's a little bit of talk amongst them about how they're going to go back to the survivor camp, between Rick and some of the survivors. There's also some talk between him and Andrea about how he explains to her next time she's going to put a gun to somebody's head and make sure she has the safety off. Apparently when she was threatening his life earlier, in the episode, she had that on. So there's some interactions of that. All in all, this was one of my favorite episodes just because of the way it was. It was very action-packed. We're introduced to a number of characters, and then we really start to learn a little bit about how these things they're like dogs in the sense that they're attracted to sound and smell, and then, of course, some movement as well, So, all in all, very fun. The episode does end up shortly after that with them kind of racing down, the road to get back to the encampment, which is outside of town, we presume, outside of Atlanta. And Glenn is cruising off in his race car with the alarm still going on it now, and he goes flying up the road. So that's how the episode ends. Let me know what you think, though, brothers and sisters, in the comments down below. Certainly feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you think I deserve it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. I do this with some of my other reviews, but I'd like to do it with the Walking Dead ones as well and have everybody interact, and I like to ask a question. So if you were this group of survivors, or if you were Glenn in particular, and you happen to go and see this person go, and I mean, obviously the city's been overrun, but you see this person, the survivor, get into this tank like Glenn did, would you stop and help them? I mean, there's no law saying that you have to now. There's no police to enforce everything. It's really survival of the fittest. Would you go out of your way and risk your life to save another person's life who you didn't even know? Or would you say, hey, listen, I got to get back to, my people, my friends, my family, whoever it is that you love and protect, and would you not worry about that person? So, again, let me know in the comments down below, and we will look forward to catching you in the next one, Nation.
As always, thanks for watching, brothers and sisters, and remember, join the Nerd Nation. It's the right thing to do. Trust me. Tell them Jim sent you.